I think we're indulging an ignorance by not suggesting that there is more to it than that.
Can you become male?
I don't want to be a male.
But can you become male? Is there anything that could be done that could turn you into a male in the way that I'm male and Piers is male? Is that possible?
See, now, do you see how you've qualified your question? So you first asked me, can I become a male? And I would suggest probably yes, in terms of medically.
All right, guys. So if I haven't told you before, I actually really thoroughly enjoy Piers Morgan's show, okay? Because it allows me to kind of get a look into UK politics and to draw parallels between what's going on in the UK and the US. And I gotta say, I think that the UK is a lot more woke than the United States. And Piers seems to be a reasonable guy, right? So I think that there is some hope there, even though I don't think he's necessarily conservative, especially by America's standards. The conversation that he has on his platform are important conversations, in my opinion. They're fascinating. And he has some loonies on the show that really do blow my mind. Like this liberal black woman right here who is basically claiming that she can become a biological male in defense of transgender women, aka biological males competing against biological women in sports. And it really is a damn shame that we're even entertaining this conversation, because this stuff is not really grounded in reality. But again, we're talking about it because we don't want people's feelings to get hurt, okay? And I think that this conversation right here and this woman's insistence on trying to defend the indefensible, which is biological men competing against biological women in sports, in reference to this conversation about Glenique Frank, who just beat 14,000 women in a London marathon, again, really is a prime example of just how we got into this situation. It's because you have people who are not necessarily activists per se, or even transgender, that are entertaining this stuff because, again, they don't want to hurt people's feelings. And it's kind of embarrassing to witness these people bend over backwards to try to, again, defend something that we all know is not grounded in reality. So I want to react to this debate here between her and Zuby, in which Zuby is going to set her straight on reality. And I think that is absolutely glorious, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what about, I mean, I said to Paula, what about Laurel Hubbard, the New Zealand weightlifter, who qualified for the first Olympics a couple of years ago, having set records in the women's field, but she took the place of a woman weightlifter. The average age for the weightlifters in that competition was about half Laurel Hubbard's age. She'd been very unsuccessful as a male weightlifter by comparison, but she deprived a biological female of an Olympic place in that team. That, to me, is completely wrong. Now, someone said to me on TV in America last week, a female congresswoman, well, what would you do about it then? I went, well, fine, I want trans athletes to be able to compete fairly and to be able to compete. So they either compete against their biological sex, which seems to me physically fair, or they have a completely new category of transport.
Yeah, so again, this is just, in my opinion, common sense, okay? That's the common sense solution, which is, hey, let transgender people compete amongst themselves or in, competition with people of the same biological sex. Apparently, this is bigotry, okay? This is bigotry and hate to simply suggest a way to make it fair for everybody, right? So again, you can't have that, okay? You can't have it actually be fair, because it seems to me that a lot of this is really about, probably a bunch of men who are not that good when they compete against people of the same biological sex, wanting to get their, trophy, right, and pretend that they're actually good at the sport by competing against people of the opposite sex. I'm just saying, it's gotten to that point because, again, if it was truly about trans people being able to participate in sports fairly, they would be totally fine with competing among themselves. But a lot of these people are not okay with that, right? They're totally not okay with that.
Why not?
So there's two things here. Just getting back to the marathon. If Glenique wasn't eligible, then there's no discussion here. Because absolutely, if she wasn't eligible, then she wasn't eligible. What I'm talking about in terms of the marathon is, when I ran the marathon, I was running with men and women, young people, old people, all running together. And what I'm saying is this fear that the headline around this is bringing up. It's bringing up a fear. It's making very vulnerable people, and we know that they're very vulnerable because we're told by the stats that they are the most likely group of people to commit suicide.
I'm so sick and tired of this talking point, right? I am so sick and tired of this talking point, and it's not because I don't care, right? It's not because, you know, I want anything bad to happen to anybody. It's just that this talking point is used to guilt trip people into the most insane policies, right? And a far left agenda that, again, it's just ludicrous, right? It comes at the expense of everybody else. There are plenty of groups of people that are prone to doing things to harm themselves, okay? And we're not bending over backwards because of it, okay? I think there are plenty of ways to get people help who have feelings of self-harm, okay, without having to have 99% of society capitulate to it or to pretend like the reality of biological sex doesn't exist. I'm just saying, I am pro mental health for anybody who is having these types of feelings, okay? And I would support these people getting the help that they may need, okay, if they're feeling that way, okay? But again, you know, having reasonable positions like that apparently is hate, okay? It's hate and bigotry in 2023. Amazing stuff.
So this is not just about a fun run. This is not just about women who require vulnerable spaces. This is not what we're talking about.
Okay, but Zuby, I would say to that of course, I'm very aware of the issues that trans people have had and continue to have. But I think people like Leah Thomas, people like Glenique here, they cause massive, bigger problems for the trans community.
Facts.
They make the whole thing look like a mockery.
Yep.
They make a mockery of being trans.
I mean, the Glenique Frank woman, right? I mean, this person, again, looks like a grown man, right? First and foremost, I mean, he has the muscle mass of a man. He's not on any type of hormones. Hasn't got the battle scars, hasn't went under the knife, you know, still has their twigs and berries. I mean, this is a full-blown biological man, untouched, that just decided that, hey, you know what, I'm a woman, and I'm going to enter as a woman into a women's competition because I wear lipstick and makeup and a wig. Right? I'm just saying, I mean, you know, 30 years ago, people would say, yeah, I mean, that's silly, right? That's silly. But again, fast forward to today, people say, oh yeah, that's totally reasonable. Totally reasonable. Again, you can't even make the argument that their testosterone has not been suppressed. They still got their twigs and berries, okay? They actually really haven't medically transitioned at all. You can't make that argument because it's got to the point now where it's like, if somebody just says, I'm a woman, if I declare I'm a woman, therefore you're a woman, unless you happen to be a mass shooter, right? And you say that, hey, I'm non-binary, and it doesn't fit the liberal media narrative.
Natalie, when we started the show, we got a little bit of news earlier that the attorneys for the shooter are now saying that the shooter is non-binary, and the shooter would like to use the pronouns they, them, and this is for the court in all court papers. And that's what Anderson Aldrich's attorneys are saying. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think that's complete ludicrous. I believe they're just saying that because they want to have the easy way out on this. That's really, really offending, especially being a transgender woman myself, that a male, which it was obvious with the mugshot, that's a man, that's not a non-binary person, because in no way, shape, or form could they appear as a woman the next day. It's really offensive to even hear that they're playing that role. And if they're non-binary, why would you go after the club where you feel safe at? Why would you do that to a community where you are welcomed in if you are non-binary? Okay,
that's the only time that the left-wing liberal media will ever accept that. okay, is if, again, you have a situation like that that doesn't fit the narrative, okay? I'm just saying, that's like the only time I've seen it. But in any other situation, it's, I think, therefore I am, and it just doesn't make sense when biology plays such a big role in how we function and organize ourselves in society.
Yeah.
And when you put your hand up as a 6'4" biological man and say, I am now competing against women in a swimming pool, no trans person who doesn't want that attention is doing anything other than saying, this is making my life hell. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, you're absolutely right in that the so-called activists are harming the group that they're claiming to advocate for, as well as harming 51% of the whole human population. Because let's be real, all of this stuff, all the negative downstream impacts are on girls, on women. They are not on boys and men at all. I'd say this whole thing is incredibly misogynistic, and I don't like to throw that word around too much. To take the conversation up a level as well, I have a question, and the whole thing is, why are we trying to force people, and why are so many people entertaining the denial of reality itself?
Yeah.
Women's rights are incredibly important. Fairness in sports is important. Safety and security and privacy, all of these things are very important. The fundamental problem at the root of this is everyone dancing around pretending that a man can truly be a woman and a woman can truly be a man. This is not me being transphobic or hateful or being a bigot, anything like that. It's simply that reality exists. Biology is real.
And is that reality a legal one? Because in this country
Reality-
it is.
reality-
It is a legal reality, Zuby, that you
What
can change
perspective?
your gender.
You cannot.
Yeah, and the reason why is because feminists have argued for decades that there's no difference between men and women. Women can be men, right? Or a woman can do everything a man can do in the name of fighting for women's rights. And that is why we're entertaining this conversation about gender versus sex and the woke academics defining gender as a social construction, right? This is how we got here, right? The whole argument that, well, gender is a social construction, right? There's no difference between men and women. Women can do anything a man can do, right? You had a bunch of men who decided to use feminist arguments, right? The social construction argument to say, well, if that's the case, then men can be women, right? If I say that I'm a woman, therefore I am a woman. And again, that's how we got here, okay? When, you know, you can have women's rights without having to deny biological realities, okay? And it's not hate to acknowledge that, hey, this is a biological reality. We can't have a society that does not function in reality. Now, again, when it comes to the people who are transgender, that, you know, want to live normal, regular lives, and, you know, they want to get along with everybody in the population, which I support. Right, I support those people who are just normal, everyday people who are not trying to push their agenda. They just want to live their life. Totally fine with that. Again, it's a lot harder when you have, you know, these people out here who basically are either taking over women's sports, they're taking away sponsorships from women, they are beating women in beauty pageants. When you have that stuff happening, instead of them having their own thing for trans folks, that's when it becomes a bigger issue for the rest of society, because you get into discrimination against women. All the things that they fought for, right, women's right, for over 100 years, it seems like it's come full circle, and now women's rights have become men's rights for men who want to be women, right? Again, it's absolutely incredible.
Not change your biological sex. It's physically impossible.
I'm saying to you,
It is impossible
it's
to
a legal reality
it is
that you can.
Can you change your biological sex?
We can talk about biology,
Okay.
and we can talk about the legality of it.
We're talking about biology, though. This thing is about sport. This is about males and females.
Well, the problem when we talk about biology is, and
Okay.
neither of us are scientists, but
You don't need to be a scientist to know male and women.
you and I both know that it's a lot more complicated than that.
What's the complication?
It's not as simple as, for me, it's very simple.
Can I become?
And for you, it may be
Okay.
very simple. But I think we're
you-
indulging an ignorance by not suggesting that there is more
male?
to it than that.
Can you become male?
I don't want to be
But
a
can
male.
you become male?
I don't-
Is there anything that could be done that could turn you into a male in the way that I'm male and Piers is male? Is that possible?
See, now, do you see how you've qualified your question? So you first
Can you-
asked me,
can you become a male?
And I would
can you
suggest
become a male?
probably yes, in terms of
How?
medically. But
No, you can't.
then,
No, you
then you
can't.
said,
But
then
you
you
know
then
that
you
that's not
said,
true.
like you and Piers,
Because we-
All right.
and that's where we start to get complicated.
Paula,
Wow. Wow. Absolutely incredible. Again, this person just said, you're being ignorant, right? She just accused other people of being ignorant for suggesting that there's not more to it than what she suggests that there is, okay? But yet she goes on to say that there's a way for her to medically become a male, right? When, again, we know that male is a term, a biological term for somebody with XY chromosomes in a penis, right? Now, you know, sometimes they're genetic anomalies, right? But that is few and far between. A vast majority of the time, XY chromosome, penis, some cojones, right? You're a male. There's nothing medically that can be done to change somebody's DNA in their chromosomes. Now, you might be able to get, you know, fixed up down low, right? And I'm telling you, I mean, there's some complications when you try to do that, right? You're really playing with fire when you try to, you know, I don't know what they do. Grow a penis? I'm not sure exactly what they do for that. But I'm just saying, there's some issues. But you're not changing your DNA, right? What your body is biologically programmed to be and to do. You're not changing that.
I hoped we would have taken you a little further down your journey. I fear
dishonest.
when you
Of
say
kindness,
when you say
of
you think you can
kindness.
become male, you can't because male is a
Well,
sex.
I can have gender recognition,
All right.
can't I? I can
Listen.
legally become a male.
We've got to leave.
That's not. Again, these people kill me. In the same breath, they'll tell you, hey, you're getting sex and gender mixed up. But then they'll turn around and say stuff like this, like, well, legally, I can change my gender. So therefore, I can be male. Well, male is a term that refers to sex, not gender, right? Okay, sure, you can change your gender, okay? But you can't change your sex. You just said that you can become male. Male is a term for sex, right? The delusion is off the charts.
Leave it there, but you can't actually become a biological male. And nor can
I don't know how much
nor can
testosterone I would need to
nor can
pump
I,
into
you'll
me
be
for that.
relieved to hear, become a biological female. Because I'm quite tempted right now to start entering the cricket competition, right, and smashing female biological bowlers all over the place and
Might as
feeling good
well.
about myself. Only I wouldn't. I'd feel ashamed.
I think
it's embarrassing.
you're pumping above your weight there.
Well, you wait till
female
Usain Bolt.
cricketers.
Wait till
female cricketers.
As I
think,
say,
would
wait
have
till
you,
Usain
Piers.
Bolt goes, I'm identifying as a woman and
good
runs in
grief.
the 100-meter final at the Olympics, and you lot all go, well done, Usaini, well done, Usaini. It's a joke. Anyway, Paula, lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Mara, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Zuby, great to have you.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that to me seems to be the only answer to a lot of this stuff is for just the top males just to take advantage of, you know, the gender ideology loopholes and just to say, hey, I identify as a woman, go in, crush, and then leave, right? Just to show people how ridiculous this stuff is. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.